You carry the blue power. Heaven put it there for a reason. Welcome to the chosen bloom. This is more than a channel, it's a sanctuary for the awakened. If you're here, you're not lost. You're being called. Chosen one, what I'm about to tell you is something your heart already knows. Through every storm, you've felt it. There's a strength inside you that's hard to explain. It's like a second heartbeat, quiet, steady, always there. When life fell apart, when people left, when dreams broke, when nothing made sense, something in you refused to give up. That wasn't just hope. It was something deeper, something older. A force that caught you when you fell and whispered, "Get up," when you forgot how. You felt this presence your whole life. You didn't know its name, but you knew it was real. I call it the blue power. If these words echoed something deep inside you, it's because your spirit recognizes the truth. Comment below, "I carry the blue power," not for validation, but as a declaration. Let it be a line drawn in the spirit. Then subscribe if you haven't, not for numbers, but to stay aligned with what heaven is unfolding in you. This space is for the set apart, the called, the awakened. You were never random. You were chosen. And now the world is about to see why. The blue power exists beyond the reach of human systems. It cannot be manufactured, inherited, or stolen. While the world traffics in credentials and bloodlines, in titles that can be granted or revoked, this power operates by entirely different laws. It was inscribed into the very fabric of your being before time began its count, before your lungs drew their first breath, before your eyes opened to this world. Heaven's fingers wove it into your spirit with the precision of a master craftsman, knowing that your destined path would demand something extraordinary, something that couldn't be taught in schools or passed down through family lines. You may have walked decades without knowing its sacred name, but your soul has never been ignorant of its presence. Every moment you chose to stand when logic demanded you stay fallen. Every instance you stepped forward to lead when your mind insisted you weren't ready. These weren't accidents of courage or random bursts of determination. These were the blue power expressing itself through you, working through your uncertainty, transforming your weakness into strength. Now, as understanding dawns, the unnamed force that has shaped your journey finally reveals its true nature. The blue power doesn't announce itself with fanfare or demand recognition. Through spectacle, it operates through something far more potent, authentic presence. It is the crystalline clarity that slices through the fog of confusion when others are lost in chaos. It is the deep knowing that speaks truth before your conscious mind has even formed the words. You don't need to raise your voice or perform grand gestures for this power to transform everything around you. It works through the quiet authority of being fully yourself, through the magnetic pull of genuine authenticity. When you enter a space, whether it's a boardroom, a coffee shop, or a room full of strangers, the very atmosphere shifts and recalibrates itself around your presence. People may not understand why they suddenly feel more grounded, why conversations become more meaningful, why possibilities seem to expand, but they feel it nonetheless. This is the blue power in action, not seeking attention, yet commanding it, not demanding respect, yet naturally receiving it, not trying to change the world, yet doing so simply by being present in it. This invisible influence you carry creates an undeniable reality that others cannot ignore, even when they lack words to describe it. They sense something profound in your proximity, a gravitational pull that commands respect without demanding it, a grace that establishes boundaries without building walls, a weight that feels both protective and powerful. And if you've ever wondered why you've never quite fit into the molds this world offers, why your spirit feels ancient and weary in a culture obsessed with surface noise and fleeting distractions, here lies your answer. You are not lost in confusion, you are awakening to remembrance. That deep ache in your soul isn't the pain of being misunderstood. It's the stirring of your spiritual origin, the recognition of your true nature calling you home to itself. This message reaching you now isn't mere information or motivational content. It is a divine activation, a sacred summons that has traveled through time and space to find you at precisely the moment your spirit is ready to receive it. This call that echoes within you carries the signature of intentionality. You were destined to encounter these words at this exact moment. The time has arrived to awaken what has been lying in patient slumber within your spirit, waiting for the right season, the right frequency, the right revelation to stir it into conscious awareness. This isn't about acquiring something foreign or learning new techniques. This is about recognizing and embracing what heaven already embedded in your spiritual DNA before the foundation of the world was laid. The blue power isn't a trendy concept born from human creativity or a clever phrase designed to capture attention. It is something far more profound and eternal. It is spiritual architecture, ancient wisdom, and living reality all woven into one divine expression. This power isn't a color in the spectrum of human understanding. It is a frequency that resonates from the very throne room of God, carrying within it the authority of divine command, the clarity of heavenly vision, and the weight of eternal purpose. The blue power flows as revelation clothed in color, justice wrapped in profound stillness, authority delivered through peace. It descends from the highest realm, carrying a direct lineage to the throne of the Almighty, bearing within it the fingerprints of divine intention. What the natural world overlooks as ordinary, the blue power transforms into the extraordinary. What appears invisible to earthbound eyes becomes brilliantly visible through the lens of spiritual sight. That profound peace that washes over you when you gaze into the endless expanse of sky isn't merely aesthetic appreciation, it's spiritual recognition. That deep stillness that settles in your soul when the ocean speaks its ancient language through rolling waves isn't just natural beauty, it's ancestral memory awakening. The color blue serves as a bridge between realms, a visual reminder that calls your spirit back to its place of origin, back to the one who breathed life into your very being, back to the source from which your power flows and to which your heart forever belongs. Throughout history, blue has served as humanity's compass, pointing toward the sacred, the unshakable, the eternal. This isn't coincidence, it's divine design woven into the fabric of creation itself. When the prophet Ezekiel was granted his earth-shattering vision of God's throne, he witnessed something that defied human language, a foundation of sapphire, deep blue and radiant, pulsing with royal authority that made kingdoms tremble and angels bow. This wasn't mere spectacle or symbolic decoration. It was the visible manifestation of divine glory, the seat of cosmic governance, the epicenter of perfect clarity from which all truth flows. Centuries later, when Jesus stood on the Mount of Transfiguration and heaven's light broke through the veil of his humanity, witnesses saw him clothed in luminous bluish-white radiance that made the sun itself seem dim by comparison. This wasn't symbolism or metaphor, it was the blue power in its purest form, heaven touching earth, divinity revealing itself through the same frequency that now pulses within your spirit. What they witnessed in that moment of divine revelation, chosen one, was the very same power that lives dormant within you, waiting for the moment of your own transfiguration. This power operates beyond the reach of human perception, yet your soul recognizes its signature with perfect clarity. It doesn't require fanfare to create transformation or demand attention to command respect. It works through the profound authority of quiet presence, the kind that shifts atmospheres without saying a word. The blue power is the courage that keeps your feet moving forward even when your heart is bleeding, the resolve that maintains your faithfulness even when the world misunderstands your motives, the anchor that holds you steady when everything around you crumbles into chaos. In moments when confusion reigns supreme and others lose their way, it becomes your internal compass, pointing you toward truth with unwavering precision. This isn't strength you have to manufacture through willpower or maintain through constant effort. It's the natural expression of your spiritual DNA, the evidence of your divine origin manifesting through human experience. This power already dwells within you, as your spiritual birthright. It flows through the veins of the chosen, embedded in your essence before time began. You don't need to chase it across continents or earn it through religious performance. Heaven's hands already placed it within the core of your being as a gift beyond price. Your responsibility isn't to conquer this power through struggle or master it through technique. It's to awaken what has always been yours, to recognize what your spirit has known long before your mind learned to doubt. This awakening ignites the moment you choose to stop diminishing yourself to fit into spaces that were never designed for your frequency, when you cease trying to shrink your soul to accommodate the limitations others have accepted as normal. The blue power activates when you finally choose truth over the comfort of conformity, when you return to your authentic essence instead of running from the very thing that makes you who you were created to be. In that moment of surrender to your true nature, the power that has been waiting patiently within you begins to flow with the force of a river, returning to its natural course. This power operates through a divine lens that perceives what remains hidden from ordinary sight. While others stumble through a world clouded by illusion and deception, the blue power grants you crystalline clarity that cuts through the fog of confusion like a sword through silk. It discerns authentic truth beneath the noise of what merely sounds convincing, exposing reality where others see only carefully constructed facade. This isn't cynicism or suspicion, it's spiritual sight that recognizes what is real and what is performance, what carries substance and what is merely shadow. The blue power protects you in ways that often defy explanation, redirecting your steps away from dangers you never saw approaching, positioning you in places you never imagined you belonged but were divinely designed to influence. Even when doors close without warning or paths shift unexpectedly, leaving you questioning the direction of your journey, the blue power is orchestrating a divine choreography that your natural mind cannot yet comprehend. Every detour is deliberate, every closed door a redirection toward your true assignment. The blue power doesn't require grand stages or blazing spotlights to demonstrate its authority. It reveals itself through the subtle magnificence of authentic presence. It manifests in the way words carry weight when they leave your lips, in how silence becomes profound when you choose to listen, in the inexplicable shift that occurs when you simply walk into a space and the entire atmosphere recalibrates around your frequency. Some people feel an immediate peace settle over them in your presence, as if they found shelter from a storm they didn't know they were weathering. Others feel exposed and uncomfortable, not because you've spoken a word of judgment, but because the truth vibrating through your being confronts the false narratives they've built their lives upon. The blue power makes no announcements about its presence, demands no recognition for its work, yet its impact ripples through every interaction, every moment, every space you occupy with undeniable force. This power carries the light of heaven into territories that have long been ruled by darkness and deception. Where your feet touch the ground, lies lose their grip and truth begins to surface. Where you take your stand, chaos discovers that its reign has limits and divine order begins to emerge. You don't force transformation through manipulation or demand change through confrontation. You bring alignment simply by being present, by carrying within you the spiritual frequency of heaven itself. Your very existence vibrates with divine resonance that disturbs the comfortable darkness where evil has made its home while simultaneously offering comfort to the broken, healing to the wounded, and hope to the hopeless. This is why you've encountered resistance that seemed disproportionate to your actions, why you've been misunderstood by those who should have celebrated you, why your presence has sometimes created tension in spaces where you brought only peace. The blue power was never designed to make you popular or comfortable. It was designed to make you effective in the kingdom purposes for which you were created. When life's pressures threaten to overwhelm and circumstances conspire to break your spirit, the blue power doesn't abandon you. It becomes your immovable anchor. This power makes no promise to shield you from trials or exempt you from the storms that rage through human experience, but it offers something far more precious: the divine strength to not just survive, but to thrive in the midst of what breaks others. While those around you crumble under pressures that seem insurmountable, you discover an inexplicable ability to endure, to bend without breaking, to emerge from each battle more refined than before. While storms rage with fury that would normally devastate, there exists within you a peace that defies natural explanation, a supernatural calm that not only sustains you, but propels you forward through the chaos. This isn't human resilience born from willpower or positive thinking. This isn't personality trait or learned behavior. This is holy anointing flowing through your spirit, divine covering that wraps around your life like an invisible shield, tangible evidence that even when every circumstance screams that you're alone and abandoned, God Himself remains intimately present, holding you steady through the hurricanes. The blue power requires no explanation, no defense, no elaborate presentation to validate its presence within you. Those who carry this sacred frequency rarely need words to prove their authority. Their silence carries more weight than others' loudest declarations. Their gaze provides more direction than detailed instructions. Their mere presence testifies with greater power than the most eloquent speeches ever could. This power doesn't flow from performance or depend on what you do. It emerges from who you are, from the core identity that heaven carved into your spirit before you ever took breath. It flows not from striving to achieve something you lack, but from aligning with what you already possess, from remembering the truth of your divine design, rather than chasing after what you think you need to become. The more you remember who you really are, chosen, anointed, set apart for kingdom purposes, the more this power flows through you like a river breaking through a dam, bringing healing to the wounded, shifting atmospheres from despair to hope, restoring what has been broken, and making all things new. Deep within the chambers of your soul, beyond the reach of doubt and confusion, you have always known this truth. Even before you possessed language to articulate what you felt, before you had concepts to frame what you experienced, your spirit recognized that you were different, that something unique pulsed within your being. As a child, you moved differently through the world than others, felt emotions with depths that seemed impossible for someone so young, saw beyond the surface of things to truths that adults missed entirely. That wasn't the product of an overactive imagination or childhood fantasy. That was the early evidence of the blue power stirring within you, the first glimpses of your true nature breaking through the veil of ordinary experience. This power has been your constant companion since your first breath, waiting patiently through years of confusion and self-doubt, through seasons of hiding and diminishing, through times when you questioned everything about yourself. It has been waiting for this precise moment, for this divine appointment when understanding would dawn and recognition would flood your consciousness, for the moment when the blue power would finally fully awaken and take its rightful place as the governing force of your destiny. While the world around you followed predictable patterns and shallow rhythms, you felt everything with an intensity that seemed to burn through your very core. What others dismissed as minor inconveniences, you carried like stones in your chest, feeling the weight of every injustice, every unspoken pain, every hidden truth that floated through the atmosphere around you. What they overlooked as unimportant details, you absorbed in contemplative silence, processing layers of meaning that most people never knew existed. For years, you may have labeled this heightened sensitivity as a burden, a weakness that made you different in ways that felt uncomfortable and isolating. But this was never fragility or emotional instability. This was always evidence of your divine marking, a sign that you had already been chosen and set apart for purposes that required a heart capable of feeling what others couldn't perceive. You weren't reacting emotionally to surface events, you were discerning spiritually, picking up frequencies from the realm of the spirit that your soul was designed to translate into earthly understanding. There were countless moments when you knew what was approaching before it materialized in the physical realm. Not through logical deduction or educated guessing, but from a knowing that seemed to emerge from the very fabric of your being, a certainty that bypassed your mind and spoke directly to your spirit. You would walk into rooms and immediately feel the weight of conversations, that had never been spoken aloud, sensing the tension of conflicts that existed only in hearts and minds. Your body would respond to spiritual atmospheres before your eyes could confirm what your soul had already detected. This wasn't hypersensitivity or paranoia. This was divine discernment operating at the highest level, a gift from heaven that had been embedded in your spiritual DNA from the beginning. Long before you understood what was happening to you, long before you had words to describe these experiences, the supernatural gift was already working through you, preparing you for the greater purposes that lay ahead. Throughout your life, strangers have been mysteriously drawn to your presence, and you've never fully understood why. People felt an inexplicable safety in your company, as if they had found shelter from storms they couldn't name. They confessed their hidden wounds to you, shared their deepest secrets, asked for help they had never voiced to another living soul. Even when you didn't actively seek these encounters, you found yourself naturally welcoming them, instinctively comforting those who came seeking solace. This wasn't because you had been trained in counseling or taught therapeutic techniques. This was the blue power already moving through you, creating sacred space wherever you went, offering healing through your very presence. It works like that, quietly and without fanfare, deeply and without explanation, undeniably and without your conscious effort, transforming lives simply through the divine frequency that flows through your being. You tried repeatedly to blend into the crowd, to disappear into the comfortable anonymity of ordinary existence, but something deep within you never could conform. You attempted to mimic their pace, to chase their goals, to find satisfaction in their pursuits, but your soul resisted every effort to force it into molds that were never designed for your spiritual architecture. You knew instinctively that their path wasn't meant for you, that their definition of success felt hollow in your spirit, that their version of happiness left you feeling empty and unfulfilled. And that instinct was absolutely right, because those who carry the blue power aren't here to fit seamlessly into existing systems. They're here to disrupt them with divine love, to challenge them with uncompromising truth, to transform them through the power of authentic presence. You weren't sent to Earth to copy the patterns that others have established. You were sent to break them, to create new pathways, to pioneer different ways of being that align with heaven's vision for humanity. You weren't born to please the masses or seek approval from those who have settled for mediocrity. You were born to awaken sleeping spirits and stir dormant destinies. This is why your presence creates such profound discomfort in certain people, not because you carry harshness or judgment in your heart, but because your very existence exposes what others have spent years, perhaps decades, trying to conceal behind carefully crafted facades. When a chosen one enters a space, illusion begins to tremble and pretense starts to crack under the weight of authentic truth. The blue power doesn't simply shine like a gentle lamp, it reveals like the blazing sun at noon, making visible what has been hiding in shadows, bringing to light what has been buried beneath layers of deception and self-protection. And now, in this moment of profound recognition, you finally understand what your spirit has always known. It's been you all along, carrying this divine frequency, wielding this sacred authority, serving as heaven's agent of revelation in a world desperate for truth. Where divine light penetrates, exposure inevitably follows like dawn breaking through the deepest night. Your spiritual energy doesn't merely offer comfort to those who are genuine, it reveals with surgical precision what lies hidden behind polished performances and carefully maintained masks. You don't need to speak accusations or point fingers at inconsistencies. Your spiritual field communicates truth before your mouth ever forms words. This is why selfish, manipulative souls instinctively withdraw from your presence, not because you push them away with hostility, but because your very vibration confronts everything within them that is not clean, everything that cannot stand in the light of authentic truth. Your presence becomes a mirror that reflects back to them what they've been hiding from themselves, and those who are committed to their deceptions cannot bear to look. You never sought leadership roles or campaigned for positions of influence, yet even in your quietest moments, you guide others toward truth. Without conscious effort or strategic planning, your very posture inspires those around you to stand taller, to reach higher, to believe more deeply in their own potential. Your peace in the midst of chaos becomes a stabilizing force that calms entire rooms. Your strength doesn't need to announce itself with loud declarations because it's noticed in the way you carry yourself through every storm. This isn't charisma manufactured through techniques or charm developed through practice. This is presence, pure and undiluted, flowing from the depths of your divine nature. The blue power cannot be earned through achievement or learned through study. It can only be carried by those who have been chosen to bear it, and you carry it with natural authority whether the world recognizes it or not. Even in your most devastating moments, when life has stripped away everything you thought you needed, you remain standing. You bleed from wounds that would destroy others, but you don't break under the pressure that would shatter most people. You cry tears that come from the deepest places of your soul, but you keep moving forward when everything within you wants to surrender. While others collapse under burdens far lighter than yours, something within you exhales deeply, reconnects to your source, and keeps walking toward your destiny. That something isn't pride masquerading as strength or willpower forcing you to endure. It's divine anchoring, a supernatural strength that flows not from the world's resources, but from the inexhaustible wellspring of heaven itself. Your soul is rooted in something eternal, something that transcends temporary circumstances and momentary defeat. And though you may shake under the weight of what you carry, though you may bend under the pressure of what you face, you never surrender the ground that God has given you to hold. You've tried to escape this calling countless times, pleading with heaven to release you from the weight of what you carry. You've prayed desperate prayers asking to feel less intensely, to see less clearly, to not bear the burden of understanding that seems too heavy for one soul to carry. You've attempted to walk away from your purpose, to choose easier paths, to blend into the crowd and disappear from the divine spotlight that seems to follow you wherever you go. But you couldn't run far enough or hide deep enough to escape what heaven has written into your spiritual DNA. Because every time you pulled away from your calling, heaven pulled you back with gentle but irresistible force. The call doesn't fade with time or distance. It follows you through every season, walks beside you in the silence between heartbeats, waits with infinite patience for the moment when you finally stop resisting and surrender to what you were created to become. And when you finally accept the fullness of who you are, everything in your life begins to align with divine order. This alignment doesn't come because life suddenly becomes easier or because your struggles magically disappear. It comes because you stop fighting the very essence of your being. Stop trying to dim the light that heaven placed within you before the foundation of the world. You were born to carry this sacred illumination, yet you tried to shrink it to fit into spaces too small for your spirit. You tried to dim it so others wouldn't feel threatened by its brilliance. You tried to disappear inside the noise and chaos of a world that prefers conformity to authenticity. But the light in you refused to be extinguished because this world doesn't need your silence. It needs your voice, your presence, your truth. The chosen one never fits where everything is shallow, where depth is discouraged, where spiritual substance is sacrificed for surface appearances. Your spirit was architected for depth, designed to navigate the profound dimensions of divine substance that most people never even know exist. The blue power cannot flow through souls that live only on the surface of experience, that refuse to dive deep into the mysteries of spiritual reality. It responds to truth spoken in dark places, requires surrender that costs everything, flows through courage that moves forward despite fear. And even when terror gripped your heart, even when uncertainty clouded your vision, you kept saying yes to the divine call echoing in your spirit. That's why now, looking back across the landscape of your life, you begin to see the divine orchestration in what once seemed like random chaos. What hurt you actually shaped you into something stronger. What distanced you from others actually protected you from contamination. What confused you The moment actually guided you toward your true destiny. Everything that once felt foreign and strange now begins to make perfect sense in the light of divine revelation. You are never just anyone wandering through life without purpose or direction. You carry a distinct anointing, a quiet but steady force that reveals itself at exactly the right moment with precise timing that only heaven could orchestrate. The blue power doesn't announce itself with fanfare or demand attention through spectacular displays. It moves with surgical precision, reveals truth when heaven signals that the moment is right, transforms situations through the power of divine timing. Because true authority never demands recognition or campaigns for attention. It creates lasting change in the silence between words, transforms hearts through the power of presence, and shifts entire atmospheres through the simple act of being authentically aligned with heaven's purposes. Those who carry the blue power know real strength doesn't dominate, it transforms. It's found in the gaze that brings peace, in the touch that mends what words can't. You were shaped for this, to be both firm and gentle, bold and light. That's what presence truly is. And your presence brings healing to many. Not because of what you do, but because of what you carry. Some people only feel balanced when you're near. Not because you fixed anything, but because something in you reminded them of wholeness. The blue power is alive in you. Always has been. This is your confirmation. This is your mirror. And now it's your moment. It needs your awakening. Your energy brings order where there was confusion. Your peace softens conflict. Your essence breathes hope into weary hearts. And even without trying, you've become a bridge linking what's broken to what longs to be whole. Many people can't explain what they feel around you. They just know they feel safer, seen, and understood. And it's not because of the words you use. It's the frequency you carry. You don't speak to impress, you speak to direct. And even when you say nothing at all, your silence speaks more truth than most loud voices ever could. That's the sign of someone who walks with God not beside them, but with Him inside. You've been set apart, not for applause, but to be a channel of healing, of direction, of strength, of light. That's why people seek you when they're lost. They're drawn to your presence when their soul is bleeding. They find rest in your company when their world feels heavy. This isn't ordinary influence. It's sacred resonance. It's the evidence of what you were called to carry. The blue power doesn't push you to perform, it prepares you to stand, to occupy space in truth. Where you enter, falsehood fades. Pretenses grow quiet. Masks slip. Not because you confront, but because your presence reflects heaven, and anything misaligned cannot remain where light is fully alive. You don't have to prove yourself. You only have to be, because your presence alone carries the vibration of alignment. You are not just anyone. You are an answer. There are places, moments where your presence was the only thing that kept something worse from unfolding. You didn't even realize it, but heaven did. Because when a chosen one walks in full awareness of who they are, the atmosphere changes, the room shifts, and darkness bows. You were the embrace that healed without words. You were the calm that prevented storms from breaking loose. And you did it all without applause, without a platform, without needing recognition, but always with purpose. Because the blue power operates in places the ego cannot touch. It moves in silence. It serves unseen. It leads without needing a crown. You carry the strength of heaven, but it doesn't shout, it guides. It doesn't dominate, it grounds. It supports without demanding. It speaks without words. And that's why people feel safe around you, because what they're sensing is not you alone. It's the presence you carry. A peace that mirrors the connection you maintain with the Most High. A connection you protect, even when no one else is watching. Even in your quietest seasons, the blue power remains active. Even when you question yourself, heaven doesn't question you. The strength of your presence has never depended on perfection, only on surrender. And the more you yield to your assignment, the more this power flows freely. Not with force, but with impact. Not with striving, but with sacred certainty. Have you noticed how your gaze calms someone's panic? Have you seen how rooms shift, how hearts settle just because you're there? That's not coincidence. That's not personality. That is the Holy Spirit moving through your life. Every single day, your light touches people. Many will never be able to name it or thank you for it, but their lives are changed because of it. You were never sent to compete. You were sent to remind others who they are, and that whether it's loud or quiet is one of the noblest callings a soul can carry. Your simple walk, infused with purpose, has already become the silent answer to prayers you may never hear. So keep walking. Keep yielding. Heaven is watching over you. And the world desperately needs the strength that only you can carry. Have you ever asked why your path seemed heavier than others? Why the pain felt sharper, the silence deeper, the trials longer? It wasn't bad luck. It wasn't failure. And it certainly wasn't because you weren't worthy. It was because from the moment you arrived, a war began in the unseen. The enemy recognized your identity before you did, and he did everything he could to distort it. Pain was his weapon, rejection his tactic, delay his strategy. But what he meant for erasure, God used for engraving. Every wound was heaven carving your purpose deeper into your spirit. Every betrayal refined your discernment. Every season of isolation trained your ears to hear God's whisper. None of it was wasted. It was preparation for the warrior you were born to become. Because resilience is not just endurance, it's spiritual authority. And those who carry the blue power don't just survive storms, they stand in them and radiate light. That's you! You've been forged, not forgotten. Strengthened, not sidelined. Marked, not missed. And now, the time has come to walk fully in what heaven always knew about you. You carry marks on your soul that few can see. Wounds time never fully erased, but heaven never intended them to disappear. Instead, they were transformed into scars of authority. When you enter a room, it's not just your energy that speaks, your story does. Hell tried to break you, but it failed. And now, you're a threat. That's why the war hasn't let up. The enemy doesn't waste effort on those who are harmless. He targets those who carry keys. He attacks those who can set captives free. He confuses those whose voice could awaken generations. He tries to silence those whose presence carries anointing. But even when you didn't understand it, you kept moving. Even with a broken heart, you kept loving. Even when you weren't loved back, you kept forgiving. Not out of weakness, but because something deeper was alive in you. That something is the blue power, and it disturbs darkness. Where you step, chains that no one sees begin to fall. Where you pray, spiritual walls collapse. Where you simply exist, the atmosphere shifts. This doesn't come from your strength. It flows from what lives within you. That's why the resistance was so intense. That's why you felt under fire. But hear this, the resistance only proves the weight of your mission. And if the battle has been great, it's because your calling is even greater. Every difficulty was training, every loss, a divine redirection. Every fall, an invitation to rise with greater power. And now, as you look back, you begin to see it clearly, even the pain was guiding you. What you once mistook for punishment was, in truth, preparation. Heaven never left you. It was shaping you to withstand the weight of your calling. You are not weak because you suffered, you are strong because you survived. And more than just a survivor, you are ready. Ready to walk with spiritual authority. Ready to speak with wisdom, born from experience. Ready to use everything, even the brokenness, as healing for others. Hell tried to stop you. But now the one who walks with heaven is you. The blue power activates in silence where the world has no answers. God doesn't compete with noise. His voice is not chaotic, but clear. Not loud, but piercing. When you pause, breathe, and listen, something within you begins to align. That's where the true connection emerges, not in striving, but in surrender. Not in performance, but in presence. You don't have to prove anything. You were never meant to chase acceptance. The blue power is not triggered by force, it is awakened by yielding. When you say, "Lord, I'm here, speak to me," heaven responds. The divine draws near, and in that simple, sacred moment, the extraordinary begins. Because God reveals secrets to those who silence the ego, to those who unplug from the noise, who stop trying to be seen and instead make space to be filled. And if you're still reading this, if your heart is burning with recognition, it's not by chance. It's because this message was always yours, and now it's time. The divine strength you seek is not somewhere out there, it's already within you. To access it, you don't need to climb higher. You need to go deeper. Peel back the layers: fear, guilt, self-doubt. These are the locks the enemy placed over your identity to keep you from walking in authority. But they no longer hold power. This moment is holy ground. Make this moment an altar. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And declare, not with your mind, but with your spirit, the blue power of God is emerging in me. This is not just a phrase. It is a spiritual decree. And when spoken with truth, heaven responds. Chains break. Something real shifts. Because words, when released from the spirit, carry creative force. Now look within. What's still holding your energy back? What is weighing you down, keeping you disconnected, keeping you quiet? Often it's unhealed wounds, old grief hiding in silence. The blue power does not dwell in places still chained to resentment. It requires a clear vessel. Release the past. Forgive intentionally. Let go of what keeps you small. The activation requires courage. Not the courage to perform, but the courage to be. The courage to live as who you truly are, even when that identity disrupts expectations. Because you weren't called to conform. You were called to awaken. When you align with your spiritual identity, the power begins to flow without resistance. You don't need to fit in, you only need to remember who you are. And once the blue power is awakened in you, you'll begin to notice the shift. The atmosphere changes. Connections become clearer. Time itself seems to align. That's because your frequency is now synced with heaven's intention. You no longer move with haste, you move with direction. You act not from urgency, but from authority. You're not reacting, you're responding. The chaos around you doesn't control you anymore. Something deeper has taken root, and now everything begins to balance. If you want to strengthen this alignment, speak it. Write it. Create your own decrees. Declare what heaven has placed in you. Speak to God not as a distant figure, but as a present Father. Say aloud, I carry clarity. I carry purpose. I carry spiritual strength. This is not performance. This is realignment. And every time you speak these truths, your spiritual field becomes more grounded. Your authority grows. Your path becomes clearer. The anointing on your life is not light. It carries the weight of destiny. The blue power is part of your calling, and it can no longer be delayed. The time for questioning has passed. The season of doubt is over. Now is the time to activate, to walk, to fulfill. And you will not walk alone. Heaven walks with you. The Spirit speaks within you. And God has already affirmed you. But for the blue power to operate freely, it needs space. That means you must release what clouds your spiritual vision. Toxic connections, constant noise, and heavy environments don't just drain your energy, they disconnect you from alignment. You were never meant to carry what God already told you to put down. You were called to walk lightly with purpose, not burden. Others may have labeled you as too much, too sensitive, too different, too distant. But you were never lost. You were being refined. What looked like silence was strategy. What felt like isolation was divine instruction. God was working where eyes couldn't see. And now you understand your sensitivity is not a flaw. It's your weapon, a heavenly gift. The depth of your perception is a spiritual advantage, not a liability. You were built to feel deeply because you were born to see clearly. And no, the blue power you carry doesn't need to be explained. It doesn't need mass approval. Some will walk away. Others will try to dim your light. Let them. The light in you doesn't shrink to be accepted. It shines to transform. And this light, this power was never given to be hidden. Do not be alarmed when your light makes darkness uncomfortable. When heaven lights a fire, resistance rises. Your calling disrupts systems built on illusion. But hear this, you were not sent to please. You were sent to transform. Your energy carries spiritual codes, frequencies that break generational cycles, awaken sleeping spirits, and set captives free. That's why the enemy has tried so hard to silence you. But that season is over. It is no longer time to shrink. It is time to manifest. Rise now with awareness and holy boldness. You do not walk alone. You walk with a divine imprint, a mission etched deep in your soul. Heaven is moving quickly, and the chosen ones are being activated and positioned. The blue power is not just a gift, it is an anointing. It is the mantle carried by those assigned to bring order where chaos has ruled. You never walk into a place by accident. Your arrival is strategic. Your presence cleanses, exposes, dismantles. What seems like a coincidence in the natural is often a divine assignment in the spirit. And this impact isn't your doing, it's your surrender. You don't have to force it. You don't have to explain it. Because what you carry can only be perceived by those with spiritual ears to hear and eyes to see. Those aligned with heaven will recognize you instantly. The rest will simply feel the shift. Your gaze now speaks what words cannot. Your presence is a prayer. Your very energy is an answer. Even in silence, the spiritual realm hears your truth. Because you're no longer who you once were. The fire refined you, the pain fortified you, and your surrender aligned you with the source. Now let the blue power flow not to impress, not to feed the ego, but to fulfill the mission. The world needs your light, and heaven has already given you permission to shine. This is no longer about becoming, it's about revealing. What once lay dormant is now awake. The veil is lifting, and God has made the call clear. You were chosen for this divine assignment, and the time to keep hiding is over. The time to wait for validation from broken systems and spiritually blind voices has passed. Your identity is no longer under construction, it's being revealed. You are stepping into what heaven always saw. Every struggle you faced, every silence you endured, every fall that repeated, none of it was wasted. Every piece has shaped you for this moment. And now, you are ready. Everything was part of the greater plan. You weren't delayed, you were being prepared, healed, shaped, refined for this hour, and now your essence is ready to move, ready to act. Not everyone will understand the depth of your journey. Some will call you too much. Others will say you're dreaming too big, but keep going anyway. You weren't called to be understood, you were chosen to awaken. The blue power needs no explanation. It speaks through your presence. It commands through your alignment with heaven. It reveals itself through quiet authority. So stop dimming your light just to make others comfortable. You weren't sent to fit in, you were positioned to transform. And everything you need for this assignment is already within you. Authority, clarity, strength. They are not distant. They are alive. Right now, all you must do is release them. Trust the voice that has been calling you since the beginning. Trust the light you carry even when your mind still questions it. You don't have to know every step. Just take the first one in faith, because every movement, when guided by the Spirit, creates new paths. Heaven walks with you, and even if you still doubt it, you are an answer. You always have been. And when you move with courage, the spiritual realm moves with you. Heaven aligns, doors open, destinies activate. Wherever you go, something shifts not because you're trying, but because of what lives within you. The blue power brings order, peace, and healing simply through your surrendered presence. That power is flowing now. It seeks space. It seeks truth. It seeks action. Let every trace of doubt fall behind you are no longer the same. This is not the time for hesitation. This is the moment for manifestation. If this message awakened something in you, declare it in the comment. I activate the blue power I carry. I am ready to fulfill my divine mission. Share this message with others who carry the mark. Your light may be the call they've been waiting for, because now the mission has begun. May the blue power awaken a generation of spiritual warriors, starting with you.